What's up, hustlers? This is Andrew, your host, founder of Marknology, here on the Startup Hustle, here to talk all things e-commerce, Amazon. I'm really excited about today's guest. I say that every time, and I mean it every time. But we've got Jared Mitchell with us. We're going to have a lot of fun. Me and him go all the way back to when I was freelancing kind of with my corporate job, trying to figure out affiliate marketing, trying to figure out e-commerce, what I was into. We weren't even working on Amazon together back then. So we're going all the way back before I had a business. And it's going to be good to just catch up live on the air with you guys, like what's been going on over the last 6 years or so, what he's got going on with his brands, and really just dig into the details with somebody that's been in e-commerce even longer than I have. So before we get started, a shout out to our sponsor, Fullscale.io, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably, your one-stop shop for any kind of development needs that you may have. Jared, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's an honor to be here, man.
Yeah, I was complimenting you earlier. I said, hey, it's like real bright behind you. Looks like sunshine. Where are you at?
Sunny Southern California. It's a great place to be quarantined.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that are in e-commerce just make their way down there if they didn't start there. I know you've been there a long time. I was actually down in San Diego 3 or 4 months ago. Just got an Airbnb and a beach and was just like, kind of enjoying some beach and some nature during all this kind of stuff. But, I love starting out the show, just letting people get to know, the person on the other side of the microphone a little bit, getting to know kind of you as well as the business. So not just a history on your business, but a history on yourself. How'd you get into e-commerce? How did you end up, working with your wife? Catch me up.
Awesome. Yeah. It all started. I used to play music for a living in a band, which is kind of a weird way to get started, but
we started the same. Remember that? I remember this is going to be crazy, but I remember your password to log into Commission Junction because we have one of the favorite bands that we both
right. So yeah, there you go. You remember my password? I better change it. Jeez.
I got a good memory. That's why they pay me the big bucks. But no, you started out in music. Me as well. Like, was it religious? Was it touring? Was it like, what was that like?
Man, yeah, there was a lot of touring and a lot of recording. We signed one of the last traditional record deals with a label called Interscope back in the day. And it was kind of crazy because the guy who signed us, his name is Luke Wood. He was Jimmy Iovine's right-hand man. And him and Jimmy signed us. We did the whole deal where we went to the top of the tower and signed and, the party and all that. And shortly after we signed, within the next 6 months, the iPod took off. And it became really, really hard to compete with the other artists on the label, which were artists like, U2 and the Pussycat Dolls and all this stuff. So we were shelved and eventually dropped, but it was a great experience. And the A&R guy who signed us, I just remember it so vividly, called us in for a meeting one day. So we drove up to LA and he said, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to be your A&R guy anymore. Jimmy's transferring me to go start up this new brand of headphones with Dr. Dre called Beats Audio. We're all, okay, that sounds cool. We'll see you later, man.
Okay. Little did you know, you're not as offended now. You're like,
yeah, not offended now. But, with the record label bonus we got, I was able to take a little bit of time off. And I started a decking business at the time, just to help pay the bills while I played music.
Not to like, age anyone, but like what year was this in relation to now?
It's got to be around 05, 06, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then the economy dropped out. And Elena was doing facials and waxing in her own day spa room. So we quickly figured out that we are indeed entrepreneurs. And I said, hey, I'm not getting many deck calls. The band is starting to kind of level out here. I think I need to figure something out. She goes, well, why don't you build me a website? I retail these product lines on my shelves. It's hard to find them online. Why don't you figure out how to build a website? And blah, blah, blah. It was just this nonchalant conversation. Mm-hmm. So I did what anyone would do. And I went to Costco because I was hungry. I just, I was surfing 2 or 3 times a day. Didn't have much going on. And on the side at Costco, they have like air conditioning and like, all this stuff. They used to have a pamphlet called How to Build a Website.
Okay. Okay.
Here's my wife. I grabbed it and I said, I need to learn how to do this. And I literally went home and I built her website, followed the instructions, and then I went through the Google wizard, figured out how to throw up Google ads. And I'll never forget our first sale because we were on vacation in Bend, Oregon, visiting my parents. And clicks were really expensive back then, Andrew. It was probably about 5 cents to pay for a click. Ooh, ouch, right? So we finally got our first phone call. I hadn't figured out how to build a shopping cart yet. I just said call to order, and she made a $175 sale, and I figured out we only spent $5. And that's when the light bulb clicked on. So, we expanded our ads, we scaled, we brought on a bunch more brands. And years later, we decided to start our own skincare brand. That's after we met. And that's been growing consistently, I guess you could say. In the midst of all that, I got hired by a thought leader, a digital marketing guru named Neil Patel, as his senior e-commerce manager. So I've been doing that for, I think, around 5 years now as well. So he's sort
Neil
of
Patel. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. He's a great guy, a good friend, really smart, really successful. And he's encouraged me to start Beefy Sites, which is my website where I teach people how to e-commerce and how to get their products online and build a brand and all that. So the thing that makes me unique, I guess I'd say, when I'm usually on like a podcast, I mention I have experience on multiple sides of the coin. I have experience with starting and owning a brand on the retail side with selling over 300 lines of skincare on the agency side and consulting through the work I do for Neil, and then the online course side for Beefy Sites.
I love it. And I've got, for anyone that's in on the live or that's watching this later, I've got where you can find and learn more about beefysites.com up here on the screen. We'll have it in the notes after, so you guys don't have to worry about writing anything down if you're listening in the car. But would love you guys to check that out. We have so many similarities, Jared, me and you, starting a little bit later, but I started in the band. We got to a point where some of our better musicians were getting offers to join bigger bands and trying out for these labels. And we didn't get the big Interscope signing, but we were trying out for the labels, kind of like in that stage where we were doing showcases and stuff like that. And I just realized it was like you had to have people say yes, to be successful in that space. But I was learning how to create T-shirts and logos and branding and marketing and traveling and organization, at a high level. I really consider that my first business, because I was really, kind of the number one, the number two guy doing the business stuff. And then was going to school on the side for a computer science degree. Got tired of being poor, wanted to make some money, started using that degree, hated it, jumped into e-commerce. That was I left my degree stuff probably 2 years before we met. And for anyone listening, I just like to be as transparent as possible so people can learn some stuff. But I was hired at a corporate company as an e-commerce and affiliate marketing manager at that time. And, I was reading blogs, and they were like, freelance on the side, get on these sites, Elance or Upwork.com, and find some work. And instead of bartending or what I was used to doing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Met guys like Jared, learned, failed. Affiliate marketing, I was at the tail end of it. It was dying, really, at least as it was known. This was before really anyone called anyone influencers, or there was influencer marketing and individual one-to-one things. There was you use coupon sites or bloggers and there was value in it. It just, toward the end, I think, started dying out, and there weren't really these big hitters that were really helping sites grow. But just similar to Google in the early days, Amazon, right? Video, for example, doing video ads right now are super cheap compared to the other kind of ads. And that's something that I'm like, oh my God, these are it's not 5 cents a click, but it's, maybe 20 cents or 30 cents a click, when sometimes it's $12 on a keyword or something. So the best part about e-commerce is it's always evolving. There's always something coming out. And, we own an agency, but I do coaching, I do mentorship. So all those kind of similarities, but in a different space. Like I went all in on Amazon. And you guys, and then Landlocked, the apparel company, right? So that's been my brand that I've really used as a launch board, a launch pad, I guess, so to speak, to try things. And then, before I'm taking risks with clients, I'm taking risks with my own stuff and really learning what it is to like grow a brand on that side. Okay, so you got all these things going. Neil Patel, that's no big deal. And senior e-commerce manager. You're not just like a founder or an owner anymore. Like, you're working for someone on that level and then doing your own thing. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about beefysites.com a little bit. We'll just like kind of go into these different areas that you're in. Beefysites.com. Someone has a business in a brick and mortar, or someone wants to get started. Is your site good for those types of people at the very beginning, or is it like an expert or advanced? Like, what kind of person is perfect for Beefy Sites?
That's a great question. I started it for two reasons. I'll tell you the second one first, which is kind of confusing, but basically when the pandemic hit, I got kind of sick and tired of seeing these businesses just completely crumble and fall apart.
Yeah.
So I decided to start, making online courses to help businesses create their e-commerce site and start selling online, because they weren't even allowed to, their main moneymaker was gone. So that was the whole reason I started it. But to go back even further, and this kind of pairs with your band comment, one of the most valuable things about being in a band was like playing in front of people. Sometimes no one, sometimes thousands of people. But that part of like development as a person, like now I can get up and speak or go on a podcast and speak in front of hundreds or thousands of people and not bat an eye, which is like a big part of owning a business these days and like networking, right? So bringing it back in, Neil thought it would be funny one day to, I'd help him build courses over the years, and he thought it'd be funny to have me in one of them. And so he gave me like a day notice, and I had to drive up to Hollywood. There was like, I walked into this Hollywood studio with like 20 people there, including lawyers. They sat me in a makeup chair. I'd never done any of this, and I was terrified to speak in front of people. I was fine with playing in front of people. I just kind of never tried it and never had the desire. That motivated me to overcome that fear. And that motivated me to want to start Beefy Sites, which essentially is pointed towards two people. Number one, let's make sure that these businesses that want to get online and survive and thrive during a pandemic know how to do it. So for anyone learning how to e-commerce, I put them in a group. It's $97 a month. I feed them a new lesson each week. It's really simple. And I just show them, hey, if I could go back 15 years and start over again, this is what I do. I teach it from that point of view. The one part of Beefy Sites that I'm really passionate about is a one-on-one consulting, approach, where I meet with businesses that are doing like 5 Gs or more a month, just anywhere online with e-commerce. And I help them build out their sales channels and like the full functioning business and scale it. To me, that's a lot more fun, but I enjoy both of them. So that's kind of what I do there. And then I am also, before the pandemic, we used to fly all over and speak and do all these podcasts and stuff that I used to be terrified to do. So it's been a lot of fun to overcome those fears. My wife and I do a lot of those things together, which is really cool. And sometimes we even bring our kids.
No, it's amazing. I was telling Jared, I just want to brag on you guys a little bit. I was on a sales call talking with the lady that does the facials and the salon stuff, and she's wanting to create her own product line, and she was using your wife as an example for who she wanted to create a business like, and she had been a young student. Your wife had been a young student of hers, I think, in the past, quite a few years ago. And she didn't know that I knew you guys, and so she was literally just bragging on you guys, like how people talk about you when you're not in the room, kind of thing. And it was just like, it was really nice. And I was like, I know these people. I remember these people. They're great people. Plus, he loves the same band as me, so it's a shoe in. No, but it's really cool, and it's crazy how life brings you together in different ways, and you don't even know. Like in some ways, I was working with you guys, and now here we are. I think honestly, like 6 years down the road. Honestly, I think it's been like 6 years because Marknology turns 6 in January.
Yeah.
And the same kind of path, and then leading you together and coming back together and having people in such a small world. That's really what the e-commerce space is it's really, really small.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't go very far before someone knows. There's someone could mention 5 Amazon people probably, or agency owners in this space, and I would know probably 3 or 4 out of 5. But someone mentioned that in a marketing company, just a marketing company, I'm not going to know anyone even in Kansas City. So just this e-commerce space is kind of fun in that way, and you really you don't go far before you're like kind of in the same circles. But the same thing. I mean, I honestly, the first time I watched myself on stage playing music, I was like, oh my God, I look more dumb standing still than I did if I was jumping around like a crazy person. So I started jumping around like a crazy person because it looked way cooler on camera. Yeah. And right, it was like the first time I saw myself standing still, like I was like, what is this? Because once you overcome that fear, you can really do a lot. There was a difference in speaking versus not speaking on stage, right? And I think 2019, my goal was to speak out of state and, around the country, started doing that. And then got this opportunity for the podcast and the Startup Hustle because of my mentor, Matt DeCourcy, the founder of Full Scale, our sponsor for today's show, but the founder of Gigabook, and his partner, Matt Watson. They've got a ton of companies together, but they, they gave me this chance of the podcast, and next year we're doing TV for startups and entrepreneurship, telling the real story behind the scenes. It's going to be a really fun web series. And you just have to move into new things. This podcast is for founders. So you have to continue to move into new things that make you uncomfortable. And you just can't worry about being a perfectionist. Just get in there and do it, and you'll be surprised what opportunities open up. I mean, our biggest year was when I just decided to start speaking at stuff and volunteering even to do so at that time. And we just started growing a ton. And I was like, look, I took on the one thing I was scared to do, and, look at the results. And that's just, a testament. You can apply that to anything. Okay. So Beefy Sites can get one-on-one coaching. I just got one-on-one coaching from John Romanillo and his team in sales copywriting. I took a copywriting course and then had a one-on-one coach. It was awesome. They helped me write out my sales sequences and, that kind of stuff. So it's super, 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 super helpful. Just for you have an assignment once a week, or, you have something that you need to focus on for your business, and you'd be surprised 6 months of doing that, and you just where you end up. Whether it's your e-commerce store or whatever. So check out beefysites.com. Okay. So, not everyone has the payroll or the salary cap, so to speak, to be able to afford a senior e-commerce director, like myself and yourself. That's why, you've created those courses, much like you walked in and grabbed a magazine off a shelf and learned how to do it yourself. And let's not pass over that websites back then were really hard to make. I thought, at least, and they're so easy now that back then seems like, man, it was difficult back then. And I mean, it's almost like plug and play now if you know what you're doing. It's about consistency. So you do. Can we talk about Skincare by Alana?
Great.
Okay, I love to chat about that and just kind of hear what's going on. So you guys had a brick and mortar. Your wife was, during the housing collapse, was still running the salon, and you had time because shows were slowing down, and people weren't building on their houses because the housing boom. You started getting into the web stuff. Did you go all in with her at that time, or were you still doing other stuff?
I was still taking random deck jobs and still playing shows. We still played shows for another 10 years after that.
Okay.
So still playing music, and I still play some today, just not in a band setting. It's mostly at church and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically, the band was still in full force. But yeah, the deck jobs were fewer and far between. And so I figured out how, and I just taught myself how to build a shopping cart and how to scale ads on Google. And that was essentially what I got really good at. And then my wife and I worked together to started going to trade shows to find new brands that we could sell online, which was a challenge because most of the brands back then thought online was kind of the devil. They thought you were going to do something sketchy with their products or this or that, when in reality, all we were doing was we created a direct consumer site. We'd buy the products from the brand and ship it directly to our customers or even their customers, you know. So we've never done anything sketchy with any of these lines. We just simply, you know, help people use them. So it took us a while to do some convincing.
It's time. I not to interrupt you, but I honestly believe like I almost was too early trying to get brands, like trying to start an agency around Amazon. It was too early. I was pulling teeth. It was I'm thankful now because I'm 9 years into the game when everyone wants to be in the game, and you know that experience you have now in e-commerce. But at the beginning it was tough getting brands, getting people to either invest in e-commerce, believe in e-commerce. You know, so I have a good idea what you're going through trying to get brands to say yes and give you the ability to sell their products. Was the brick and mortar any part of that? Like having a brick and mortar kind of opened their minds a little bit to you guys selling online, or no?
It was a key component of our business for years, but eventually turned into a shell, a front. And we still have it. We can still do services, but we learned really quick that we make more money in 30 seconds online than Elena does doing an hour service, you know? So we just figured out how to get more and more brands in, how to set up more ads. Then eventually, you know, I started figuring out other sales channels like email marketing or postcard marketing and just all this stuff as it came to light. And that sort of segued into, you know, we grew the business to a certain point and tried all these different sales channels, including affiliate marketing, which, by the way, you were the best that we ever hired. Okay. And you did a good job, you know? So,
well, I appreciate that.
And then at one point I was like, hey, like, I feel like there's more to learn. There's more to this. And I just had gone to this, Optimizely conference, which is split testing software, and saw this guy Neil Patel speak, and I started following him, and he seemed like a really cool guy, which he is. And he put out a job ad one day on email. His email list is like 1 million, 2 million large. It's gnarly. And so I thought, I showed it to Elena. She's like, you should apply. I'm like, okay. So I applied. I guess there's like thousands of applicants, and by God's grace, somehow he hired me. And that whole thing was me trying to figure out, what do I not know versus what do I know, you know? Because I think as like a business owner, we can like doubt ourselves, and there's always a golden carrot that someone's dangling. There's always a new technology. There's always a new TikTok thing going on, you know, just like something new that you can invest to spend your time in. And so for me, working for Neil really helped me gain the self-confidence, figure out what I knew, what I didn't know, what I needed to improve on. And that was a really cool thing that I got into that helped us continue to grow Skincare by Elena to what it is today.
It's crazy that like I spend so much time on mindset and mental health, like, and that means something different to everyone, I'm sure. But for me to give that a lot of the time means it feels like a lot of time to me. And because I just know that if my mindset's healthy, if my heart's healthy, if I'm like in alignment, I'm going to be able to do like anything I'm doing in business better, like no doubt. And I can take criticism better. I have the bandwidth to hire coaches that just rip me apart and tell me my stuff is crap, right? I have, you know, the ability to self-evaluate and be honest with myself because I'm feeling confident in other areas, because I'm healthy in other areas. So you can dig into some of those pain areas, you know, or just, you know, whether it's pain emotionally, whether it's business, whether it's like, you know, insecurities around finance, or not everyone's good at everything, right? So but as a founder, you're wearing all those hats, and you're like, you know, and especially if you're in the e-commerce space, it's the Wild West out here. Like there's something new every day, that it just becomes, you know, how do I just keep adapting? For me, it was build a team that can learn their areas, you know, every single day, and I don't have to learn all their areas. But everyone goes about it a little different. I love that you went in on the mindset part, and that was something that Neil taught you, was like, you know, as you figured out what you know and what you don't know, and was honest about what you don't know, you're able to be like, okay, let me focus here. Okay, let me like hire this out, or let me get a coach here, or let me find somebody that likes to do this where it's a weakness for me. I think that's a big statement.
Yeah, you know, something that came to mind too was if you're talking about mental health and all these, you know, stretching yourself. So how long can you hold your breath?
When I lived in Hawaii, it was about 90 seconds, but it's probably less now. I've been wearing these masks and taking all these short breaths, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I knew that was a long time. I was a free diver, so I was
Yeah,
trying to free dive. So I was like practicing a lot.
got it. Yeah. So I'm also a free diver, and I haven't lately because I broke my eardrum again, so I had to get surgery. But normally surfing and spearfishing are my things. So someone encouraged me because I was starting to dive deeper. You know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you should really take a class because you're getting to dangerous depths. And they were absolutely correct. I'm so glad that I listened to them. And so I took this class and learned how to hold my breath and how the body works and how breathing works and all this stuff. And it turned into like one of the best business exercises that I could have ever done for myself. I didn't even think it was possible to really hold your breath over like 2 or 3 minutes, right? And there's guys that the instructors could do it anywhere from 5 to 10. But after 2 days of training, I was able to hold my breath for 4 minutes underwater.
My friend just did this. Like she just did this too. So like I know I'm like that's real. So how did it happen?
They teach you how to breathe. Most of us breathe incorrectly. So they teach you the correct way to breathe. And they teach you the mentality, how the body works, and how to prepare to go underwater. And, talk a lot about fear and overcoming fears, which I think everyone has a fear of being held underwater, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone, like some people won't even do it. So, yeah, we went through the whole deal. It was a day in the classroom, then a day at the pool. And I held my breath the longest out of anyone in the class, which I was proud of and want to brag about because I was like super freaked out about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, I think that anyone who takes this class could at least do over 2.5 minutes, maybe 3.
That's insane to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, it is. And to learn your body's limitations, again, getting back to what you fear and what you think you can overcome and what you can actually overcome and getting in the right mindset. It was another big confidence booster for me. I think I struggled a lot with self-confidence over my lifetime.
No, I mean I can completely relate. And I know in the sales copy class I was taking, just for like an example, I know how I come off in person. I got tattoos and gauges and I wear a snapback and I'm a band guy that's like learned business and I like to be myself. I was raised in Africa. I'm an individual, and I'm best when I'm myself. But for some people I can come off like maybe they don't think I'm intelligent. Maybe they don't think I really know my stuff. Maybe they don't think I'm a good businessman, these insecurities. And so I've usually, I think I've overcompensated on the, kind of like the business copy side, emails, sequences, website copy about us, like, those kinds of things. I've been almost like too rigid and too like businessy. If that's even a word, because I wanted to come off like, look, if this is how I come off visually, then I want people to like, I want to balance that out with like a ton of professionalism, and then be like, this guy's the real deal. Well, I don't need to do that, and so like kind of just working with them was a way to realize like, hey, what do you not know, and it was like, okay, you're compensating for this thing, which is good about you, like this is who you are. You don't need to change this other thing to make up for that. Just like have some personality in your copy, have some personality in your emails. And that's just a little vulnerability around like some of this, like a practical thing I was working on. But you've been doing something so long, or you just like think that that's the way it is, and then you have a coach that can come in and be like, hey, like actually from an outside perspective, this is how this, like, I know you and this is how this is coming across to someone that knows you, or whatever, and can actually help you even get more on brand, even though you were trying to be, like an outside perspective like that. So absolutely huge. And, I, in the early days, I couldn't afford coaching. I didn't either know enough people that were volunteering it or knew people that knew. I didn't even know what I needed to know. So I wouldn't have known where to go and didn't understand the value of it until I started charging for my own services as a coach, and believed in what I was selling, because I thought that like, hey, no, I'm giving these people gold that can save their business, that can like, and it's worth this amount of time because I can only do so much, and it allowed me to have perspective on hiring other coaches and what they can do for me and how it could help me grow. So let's bring it back. Let's circle back. So you started working with Neil, learning about what what you don't know, and kind of like what had been working and what wasn't working. After years of doing it, if you guys started around 07 or so, what made you start, creating your own brand, your own line of products instead of just being a reseller or a distributor. What's kind of that light bulb moment?
Yeah. I think for us, we kind of got tired of watching some of the brands that we were reselling just make the worst decisions or not embrace online or go out of business. And we're
Right.
like, in the world, man. And I had wanted to start a brand for years, but we kind of had our plates full, and that was cool. So I know what it was. The catalyst was on our retail site. We either do a discount offer or a free gift offer. And we were doing our free gifts from the brands that we would sell. I, you know, I thought I can make my own skincare product for $3 a unit or whatever it was back then, as opposed to buying these other brands and using that as a free gift. And if I can sell this product for $20 or $30 and they use my code for my brand's free gift instead of their discount code, because we only allow one code at a time, I just made a bunch of money back. So it was literally just like a CPA play.
Practical thing. Yeah.
And so we came out with this eye cream, and it was under Elena's name. And like we did our own branding. It was terrible, but the product was good. And Elena knows ingredients and she knows good products. And so we only had it on our site as a free gift. And we started having people calling and demanding that we sell them the eye cream. And that's literally how our brand started. So then we put it for sale and it started selling. And then, of course, it's like, okay, how do we scale this thing? And like, dude, I've learned so much over the last 3 or 4 years about branding and brands in general and how to scale them. And it's been really exhilarating, man. Like I never thought I'd be a brand owner. And now it's like all I can do not to want to start new brands and things like that.
No, I love that. And I can attest too, like there's a different energy when you're building something that's yours and you get to try whatever you want. And on the Amazon side, that's kind of the same evolution. Was I was helping people resell other products. I hated that I couldn't change the copy or the images or respond to reviews or change the A+ pages or protect the brand or run ads. And so I started moving toward only working with brands that have brand registry or have the rights to the brands, trademarks, things like that. And that's kind of been the evolution, is just like, I want more and more and more control to help, make the right decisions that need to be made. Because unless, it's not even in fault a lot of times of the brand. It's not all about 9 years or whatever. It's about like your full energy and your attention being in a particular space. Versus most brand owners and founders or even e-commerce managers are doing way too many things to just be obsessed with Amazon or just be obsessed with an SEO, analysis, or be just obsessed with a funnel. They're just not putting in that type of time to be true experts and know what those kinds of things are doing. No one's setting photos up on pickfoo.com and getting, having 8 product photos there and getting 500 people to tell you which one they like and why, so then you're choosing the best based on averages and data. It gets intoxicating, so how many SKUs do you have with the new line right now? And what do you guys, what's your plan there? You just going to continue to add to the line, and what's the move?
Yeah. We basically had spent the last few years dialing in our messaging and our branding and the product offering. And it's kind of funny timing, but we're literally starting like our awareness pillar push next week.
Okay, cool. Okay.
I'm going. We have about 50 to 60 SKUs. They've been selling really well. We have, 20 to 23 different sales channels set up for the brand. Amazon, Shopify. We have our own retail store that we sell a lot of products through, etc. And we're going to finally make a push on Facebook, Insta with, UGC influencer stuff. You know how it all is. Starting next week. And we're also doing a full-fledged YouTube campaign starting towards the end of this month as well. So it should be pretty exciting.
Ooh, I'm going to tune in because I want to see the launch and kind of just see how it all unfolds.
What's really cool about it, Andrew, is I never thought of myself as like an inventor, but like I have like patents now of like products I've invented. And
Mhm.
I just never ever thought, but like, you know how it is, you're going around looking at competitors and different SKUs. Well, why doesn't someone make it that way? So one
Well,
thing that,
you
you
to
know,
be creative, you were just creative with a guitar.
yeah. So
You
I
know?
mean, one of the things we pride ourselves on with our brand is some of our products are unheard of worldwide. It's really unique stuff. So that's great, but just finding out how to market it and make people understand it and see the value in it has been a little bit of a challenge in the past. So it's a lot of fun, and it'll be exciting to see what happens.
No, and I think you know, we talked about the way that you came into the brand was using them as like a free gift that people were getting, and it's a strategy we use on Amazon as well. You know, letting people get the new flavor, get the new style. Like if you create demand for it, then they start asking for it, you know, and they're really just like, "Oh, I'll take it because it's free." Then they love it, you know, and then it kind of just like brings them into the brand. But 50 SKUs is big. Like I'm pumped for you guys. And I'll definitely have to tune in and just see how it unfolds. I don't have the links for um the YouTubes or Instagram or Facebook or website, anything here. I just have beefysites.com. You know, where can guests follow along? Where can guests kind of be introduced to your products and engage with you guys?
Yeah, cool. The retail store is skincarebyalana.com. The brand is alanamitchell.com. If you type in anything skincare or Alana on Google, you'll be able to find us.
Cool. I love it. Skincare by Alana. We'll have it in the links as well. So you guys can follow along. They're about to have a launch. I'm super pumped. It's good timing. I think it's really good timing. Not just with the holidays, but just, you know, wrapping up this year. It's going to be big.
And we've done pretty well on Amazon in the past. It's been a little bit up and down because we don't have a ton of awareness, but we should get a sweet Marknology management agreement going here, because I think it'll start to ramp up and we'll need you.
Well, I'll definitely give you, I would love to just like take a look and give you my
Yeah.
thoughts at the very least. I'm always looking for a reason to come down to San Diego, honestly. So
Oh, hey, dude. Anytime you're here, we got extra rooms and stuff. You got to come stay with me.
I love it. A lot of my friends have over the years just kind of made their way down there. And so, you know, I've got a group of friends in that area. So I would love to. And we will talk about Amazon. I want to give you my feedback, and I'd love nothing more than for you guys to crush it, whether it's awareness or it's simply like when people do come to find you because they want to buy on Amazon, making sure they find you and nobody else, and you know all the things that you can do to really pull it all together. You know, I feel like more experience building brands from scratch onto Amazon, or like that have never been on Amazon and we're launching there and then creating awareness, more so than people that have strong websites that then come to Amazon. You know, a lot of times it's like, let's validate this on Amazon and then we'll build a website after.
Yeah.
So I love, you know, I love working with brands because there's a lot you can do to pull it all in together. That's really cool, you know, between the mailers, between the emails, between social medias, and it's how are all these things talking together that matters.
Yeah.
Really, that's really where e-commerce is going. You know, you talked about 21 different channels and we named like 3 of them, you know, so it's that's complex, and it's just like, you know, how do we get value out of all of them? How do we get all of them like engaging and sharing the brand and talking about, you know, the products? And that's the fun for me, you know. So I'm sure when we talk about what that could look like on Amazon, I'm gonna have some fun running some ideas by you.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Awesome. Do you and Neil have anything coming up together? Is that something, like you said you were on one of his courses? Is there anything anybody needs to know about? I'm trying to tune into these. Those sound incredible for me, and I'm always trying to build out my off Amazon e-commerce experience.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny too, because my experience tends to be like less on Amazon, and people come to me for my experience off Amazon. So I've dealt with so many of those brands who are like, hey, we're crushing it on Amazon. We're going to take over the world. I'm like, you could. I'm like, you kind of don't own your brand or your customers yet, but you could.
Yeah, exactly. There's some stuff we got to do.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, that's, you know, a fun part of it, being on that side of the spectrum, helping them go through the motions of the, you know, the Shopify side or whatever. And
It's different, you know, it's
Yeah.
a different game. The searching is different. The SEO is different. The follow-up, you know, how to collect customers, how to build a brand, how to tell the story in less pages, you know, and with a different flow. And, you know, Amazon didn't have that actually when we were engaged together with affiliate marketing. Amazon didn't have any of these branding abilities. They've turned all this on over the last 6, 7, 8 years, where the brand registry 1, now there's brand registry 2, now there's video, now there's, you know, you can get a trademark, which gives you the ability to be a brand in 30 days now if you're using the right program. And, you know, they've just launched so many things, and that's where my focus has been, you know, by being behind a retailer that was 300 people or so in multiple brick and mortars. It was, what are the challenges they're having, where they're like, you know, in all these different channels and they got brick and mortar and they're trying to do it from a brand level, when a lot of people have been approaching it from a private label level. You know, nothing wrong with that. It's just different challenges. And so as Amazon has really released all that branding and storytelling, that's where Marknology has put their focus and being like, hey, this is the new stuff that Amazon's pushing. How can we really help brands with branding, with storytelling, with, you know, capturing their audience? So we're gonna charge people to hear the rest of that, so we can't give it to them all free here on the podcast. But it's been really great having you on the show, and I will take you up on San Diego because I'm coming down that way soon. And it's just been good to catch up and hear that everything's going great. It feels like, you know, both of our lives have been blessed in this space. And I know if you're anything like me during this pandemic, we're just like, wow, how could we have chosen from music days and touring and traveling, right, and playing events? If we were in that world right now, we'd be absolutely crushed. You know, and my heart goes out to all those people, but somehow we've ended up here and we're able to help and educate others and serve others. And it's just really, really cool to connect with an old friend.
Yeah, I feel the same, man. It's good to be back in touch. It's funny, I never check LinkedIn, and you messaged me on LinkedIn, and I happened to be on LinkedIn while you messaged me. So that's pretty cool.
hey, you know, it's you don't forget somebody that's favorite band is Under Oath, you know. So it's good to see you, and I'm going to connect with you offline. We'll take it off here. Thanks to everyone that was listening and learning a little bit about, like, you know, behind the scenes of being a real founder, an e-commerce founder, and also where you can go to learn more yourself. You know, he's not saying I know everything. I'm not willing to teach you. beefysites.com. You can get one-on-one coaching. You can join a class and really take your business forward. One last shout out before we go. Thank you to our sponsor, Fullscale.io, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably. You know, I'm helping you on Amazon. Jared can help you off Amazon, and Fullscale can help you with development needs. So we've got you covered. We'll talk to you next time, guys.